I never got to feel what it would be like to lose if I wasn't on the biggest team that had the most pressure.
I don't want to work at McDonald's anymore.
Nadeshot in the 1 versus 2. He's going to jump around the corner. Can he connect? Yes, he can. 1 versus 1. FaZe alive. Going to get challenged though. Can he pick up the kill? He does. Nadeshot with a huge play there.
What do you want me to do? You want me to sit at home, watch TV? I got all my homework done. I get good grades.
Anticipation.
Seems like Hecz was kind of like a father figure to everyone. What kind of role did he play in those years for you?
I am going to be taking a break from competitive Call of Duty.
Just the way that he carried himself, I was always attracted to that because I wanted to be like him. In certain ways, taught me how to be a man. The idea sort of stemmed in my head, well, what if I just did this solo? I started to sort of see doubt in whether he was actually looking out for my best interest or not.
Even at their peak.
Like, how bad was it between you two?
He was just the best at everything. So I kind of had to play the game a little bit to make sure he didn't hate me. Because if he hated me, I'm off that team.
Watch your head, because the dog bites back, homie.
One day, I would like to tell the whole story around like Nick Merckx and everything.
Are you still the CEO today?
My biggest focus that I care about the most with 100 Thieves is having the best teams in the world competing across multiple titles.
Do you ever miss me on the team?
I texted him like, yo, I know that we've got a lot of problems, but like we're friends at the end of the day. The only thing he said to me after not replying for hours, and the only message I ever got from him after this was, keep your friends close, keep your enemies closer.
I just want to give you guys a heads up before the episode starts. We are officially on Spotify and Apple Music for all the people asking. You can check out the links in the description. And also for anybody that used to watch my gaming videos, I'm actually launching a gaming channel in the description. Check it out. I'm excited to sit with you. I'm excited to talk to you. We've had a few off-camera conversations, and the more I talk to you, the more I realize like how many similarities we have.
Me and Banana Phone might be the same person.
Yeah,
dude.
we have a lot. I mean, you running 100 Thieves, and I had a, kind of similar role to you at FaZe for so many years as well. Not, officially any massive title, but like day to day, nonstop. So
you got the instincts, man.
Well,
And I wasn't like actually a CEO. I mean, title, but I hate titles.
Same.
But yeah, you got the instincts, man. It's like you're one of the most important roles that you could have at the company is guide the ship just through the small and big decisions that you make. So
yeah, well,
I feel like we both worn a lot of hats in our last decade.
100%. And both kind of come back to content now. Both lived in content team houses too. A lot of different things. So, I'm excited. In like the concept of this show is kind of talking to creators about, or streamers or whatever, right? Starting off with talking about our lives and kind of looking back, regrets that we have, making money, things that we wish we did differently, kind of, being recognized, and how, my concept was like, I understand it a little more than most people that would try to interview someone like yourself, right? So I'm like, I think it'd be a cool conversation. So especially with you, I think like outside of Rain, I feel like I'm gonna, like as I'm preparing to talk to you, I'm like, dude, I feel like there's so much more. There's so much similarities, more than anybody that I spoke to. So I'm excited. So you've been online since like what, 2010, 2011?
Uploading?
Yeah, like just Nadeshot. When did Nadeshot become a thing?
2008.
Okay.
COD 4. MLG Nationals, world, it's like they only had one event via LAN, and it was like the World Championship. I played in 2008, COD 4 when I was like 15 years old, I think, 14 years old, and it was at MLG Anaheim. We got 4th place, and then the next year, after World at War, you go to MW2, which is like 2009. That's when I started uploading videos to YouTube.
2008 you started. I guess before all of that, can you give us a little story of your background? Again, people know a little bit about you, but let's just assume for the viewer's sake that fresh slate. So how did you grow up? Where did you grow up?
Grew up in Palos Hills, Illinois, small suburb, southwest of Chicago. Had 2 great parents. Mom and dad worked real hard. My dad was a carpenter in the union for 40 years, and that's in Chicago. So he worked out in the cold winter, hot summer. My mom was a secretary at the emergency room in a hospital, and I had an older brother, older sister, and honestly, pretty normal upbringing, I'd say. The reason I got into video games was because I love traditional sports, love watching, love playing them, but I didn't go through puberty until I was like 18, dude. Freshman year of high school, I was like 4'5". I weighed 80 pounds.
Oh, wow.
I wrestled freshman year, played golf. I never wrestled in my life prior to that, but I'm like, I just got to do something. And I think I was wrestling in like the 95-pound weight class and had no idea. I didn't win a single match. Played golf freshman year. I was all right at that, but I wasn't as good as like kids that had lessons before on the team. My dad had taught me, but he didn't teach me very well. He's actually gotten better at golf now. He's retired, but the long story short of it was I just really wasn't athletic enough to play like high school sports. So kind of fell in love with video games because I had an older brother who was 2 years older than me. We were pretty close growing up, and he would always beat the shit out of me in anything we do. And then video games were like open, blank canvas. I could write my own story and beat him some of the time when we play any game together. So it kind of just was a natural evolution. I was pretty socially awkward too, so just staying at home on the weekends. I never went to any school dances, not a single one in 4 years. I have friends in high school, like most people do, but I didn't really understand how to talk to people and like that. When I started getting pretty addicted to video games in general, I had Pokemon Red, my brother had Blue. That was on Game Boy. A couple years go by, go over to this kid's house. I'll never forget his name. It was Brian McNally. He went to the Catholic school that my brother, sister, and I went to, and my brother was friends with him. They were in the same class, and we got invited over to his house, and we're in the basement running around. We didn't have a basement. We had a crawl space. My dad built the house we grew up in, and for some reason didn't put a basement in a piece of so they had Halo 2 down there on original Xbox. Mind-blowing experience. I thought it was like the coolest, crazy shit I've ever experienced, and begged and begged and begged my parents to give me an Xbox. That has an entire story in itself, but I'll spare you the time. So start off in Halo 2, super addicted to that. Start competing like for fun in Halo 2, nothing official like MLG or anything like that. But then Gears of War 1 comes out in 2007. That was my first MLG event. MLG Chicago 2007, Pheasant Run Hotel in Charles, Illinois. We got 17th, 18th place. We were one match away from making championship bracket. Would have been considered pro at that time. And from there on out, I was just addicted. Call of Duty comes out that same year, oddly enough. I actually told a story on stream the other day. When I first got Xbox 360, the only game that was like out or that I remember being able to rent from like Hollywood Video Blockbuster was Call of Duty 2. I spawned in for 2 seconds for like 10 minutes a pop and would just get spawn killed over and over and over again. And I was like, dude, I'm never playing this again. But, you know, kids at school, I can't remember if it was freshman or sophomore year, like, yo, you got to get Call of Duty 4. And I'm okay. So I asked my parents, they buy it for Christmas. And from there on out, it was, you know, love at first sight. Start competing, make it onto a pro team. And that's where the event happened, 2008. And then just evolve with Call of Duty from there on out. Hear about OpTic and FaZe, and I'm like, wait, people are making money from this? I used to just upload like 1v2, 1v3 clutches on some random YouTube account. I had a Dazzle DVC 100, and I just thought it was the coolest thing in the world. It's the right place, right time. And then 2009, OpTic, MW2, that's when everything started kind of pop off. OpTic Predator kind of took me under his wing, started making videos together, cut comp like that, and the rest was history.
Wow. Well, it's very interesting. You kind of got into the competitive space right away.
Yeah, competitive was always first.
A lot of people, they didn't realize there's a competitive scene till like way later, or, you know, how did you get into it so quick?
Brother, I stumbled upon game battles, which I don't know if I heard about that through like a kid in a public match or what. I think it had to be watching Halo 2. They used to have it on USA Network on weekends at the actual MLG events. For some reason, when I competed at this event in Gears of War, I don't know what happened in that year span because Gears of War 1 and Call of Duty 4 came out the same year, along with Halo 3. And I actually met some kids on the GB forums that were playing in these pro circuit ladders, which is what the pro circuit used to be, not to sound too redundant there, but it turns out that they went to one of our rival high schools in a town over. And so I actually wanted to just learn more about it. It's probably the only business-esque decision I've ever made on my own in my life. And I ended up at Buffalo Wild Wings talking to these kids. My mom dropped me off, and they told me all about it, started playing on their team. I got better, moved on to a different team. But it was just by sheer luck that I found out about competitive Call of Duty because I didn't realize after just pub stomping in the Search and Destroy playlist that something like that existed like it did for Gears of War and Halo. So the memory is kind of loose, but it was something along those lines.
Oh, it's very, very interesting. Like you said, like you probably look back at your shock that you made that decision to go to Buffalo Wild Wings and talk to these kids.
Bro, if you knew me then, I don't know how I ended up there either.
Yeah.
I think I was actually more of a risk taker when I was younger, which is crazier. I think I became more hardened by life, but also more timid because of it.
That's, I look back to and I'm like, think about in 2011 when I started making videos, I'm like, dude, it just does not feel like I would be the type that would jump to do something like that. And I look back and like, I remember my first time playing MW2, my cousin brought it over and I had no interest in it. I played like Mario Party. I was super into baseball. I was playing like baseball games on Xbox. I had no interest. I literally like had no interest in playing MW2. And then like 6 months later, I'm in FaZe basically. And I look back to it, I'm just like, I don't know what happened in the timeline where I got this interested. I decided to buy a capture device and record myself. Like,
yeah,
it is weird. Like I also have a bad memory, unfortunately, but like it's just like I look back, I'm like, how the hell did that happen? How did I make whatever decisions I made at 13, 14 years old to randomly like fall into that?
Bro, I'm right there with you. I was selling like on eBay just to buy a monitor that would have like a 2 millisecond response time. Bro, I would never go through the hassle of selling something on eBay, taking photos of it, shipping it. Bro, these are all small things. I'm like, how in the world did I figure that out?
Yeah, it's interesting. It's very interesting. I mean, it's like a real passion. That's how you know you really love. You must have loved it or felt something for it.
It was an absolute fixation. It started getting like a couple views on a video.
Yeah, so that's all in high school. You said, or like right? So you were. I think I've heard when you were like 15 that your parents forced you to get a job. Is that true?
my mom was worried, and she was right, that I was just like staying in my bedroom all day, didn't really go out, didn't have like a social life. And she was, I think, more annoyed than anything too, just hearing me talk on Xbox all day because the walls were paper thin. Thanks a lot again, Dad. No basement. My sister's narking on, waking my dad up in the middle of the night when he's got to wake up at 4 a.m. to drive an hour to the work site just because I'm whispering in the mic. So there was just a whole lot going on at home. My mom was kind of sick. She wasn't really acting like herself, but she kicked me out of the bedroom to get a job at McDonald's. I mean, it didn't need to specifically be at McDonald's. She's just like, you got to get a job. So I went to the dean's office, got a worker's permit or whatever you call it, and just applied at the same McDonald's that my friend Alec Falzone, who was like my brother's age, he lived 8 houses down, but he also played Gears of War 1. I would go over to his house and stay up 24 hours playing multiplayer. And he said, I'd probably get you a job at McDonald's. So I just chose the easiest path forward. Yeah. And that's how I ended up working there. I worked there 4 years. I wasn't full-time, but it damn near was.
Yeah.
So that was, and going back to your original point of my mom, that I actually attribute McDonald's a lot to my ability to talk to people or even just express myself, because I was pretty socially inept. But you're forced to talk to people at the counter. You learn how to, people are going to respond the way you deliver a message.
Yeah.
And that helped me come out of my shell. A lot of my managers were like 7, 8 years older than me in their mid-20s, who I thought were really cool. And they would, always try to get me out of my shell, invite me to places like that.
Mm. Did you have any other jobs that you did?
Only McDonald's, 4 years. And then I went straight into, I won COD XP in 2011.
Yeah.
Which
Black
was
Ops 1, right?
MW3.
Oh, okay.
It was kind of like Champs, where they had 32 teams around the world, but it was sort of used as a promotional event for MW3.
Okay.
So the game hadn't been released yet.
Oh, wow.
So they put up a $1 million prize purse, and I ended up on that team just by sheer luck because the people that were on OpTic at the time, JCab wasn't 18, Rambo was Canadian, and they invited me as like a last resort. And we ended up winning the damn thing. So I used that money, got a check for like $93,000. Wow. Quit my job and dropped out of college.
Okay.
Streaming on Twitch.
Wow. So yeah, I was gonna. First off, I think it's interesting because again, I always mention myself being 14 when I started doing. I've never had another job, right? So it's like my family. I think I learned though seeing my parents how much the struggles of trying to make pay the bills and all that. Like I've respected and understood money. I was blessed from learning from my parents. But for a lot of people that never worked before, I think it's always interesting for the people that have, it gives them a different perspective on money, right? When you're working for 8 hours to make
Oh,
a
yeah.
certain amount.
It's
But
like
for
your
you,
minimum wage,
but
bro.
what you highlighted wasn't even that. It was the social skills, which is also very interesting. I think that's why, like, again, I don't regret. I mean, I'm very blessed to have not had to work and had to, only do YouTube since I was 14. Very lucky that I just fell into this and like started making money when I was young. But I kind of envy people that did have different experiences, because it's like, yeah, I've never had an experience like a service job or anything like that. I don't know what it's like. I don't. There are things I definitely missed out on.
Don't do it.
No, I mean, hopefully I
I know
won't
what you
ever
mean,
have
though.
to. But I think it does make people. It definitely makes it molds you into something. Somebody, it helped you grow up, like you just said, socially.
I'm hoping I give my daughter some generational wealth, but I'm gonna make her get a job.
That's what I was gonna ask you, because I mean, I'm sure you don't necessarily want her maybe to work at McDonald's, since you saw how it was. Maybe you don't want her to do a service job. Nothing wrong with working at McDonald's, but maybe for you, like, okay, I don't want her to do that, but you want her to work. I don't know, but like, because I'm sure it's like I feel like a lot of people have that kind of struggle where they want to give their child, money
Yeah.
and comfort, but you also want them to have to earn, learn the values of life. So
It's funny, not to cut you off, but I think I'm gonna let my daughter do whatever she wants. And
Yeah.
if I have a son, I'm definitely making it get a job.
yeah,
I'm hoping Gracie lives with us for the rest of her life, bro.
I feel you.
I hope she turns into a spoiled brat,
I understand that.
mean to people, out of touch with reality.
I think
But she's nice to dad.
I think like you. I think, son, buddy, you gotta go. You
Yeah.
gotta go work.
Oh, yeah, that rolling around in dirt.
Yeah.
But Gracie girl, you do whatever she wants.
Yeah. She's gonna. That's cool. I'm sure you guys are gonna have a beautiful relationship as she gets older.
Yeah, my
It's
son's
exciting.
gonna hate me, dude. God willing.
Yeah. That's awesome. Well, I guess we'll see. I guess she's just not even one yet. So
Yeah.
we'll give you some time to figure out her working, but it's cool. It's cool your experience. I was gonna ask you what, I'm sure you had some resistance from your parents when you maybe talked about gaming and wanting to be a pro, and I'm sure winning COD XP helped you kind of convince them that, here I can make money doing this.
Yeah, I mean, it was tough for my mom. My mom hated it, to be honest with
Really?
you. And I get it. It's like I can't ask her now, obviously, but I think she just. I mean, there was no track record. There was no history that she
Yeah.
could look on the internet for. I mean, at that time, none of it existed. So there had to be like a level of conviction or to believe me, but at the same time, it just brought out like bad habits of me just sitting at home, or she thinks I'm wasting my time. That's what I think why she hated it so much, because she hated it.
Okay.
But my dad, he didn't really care. As long as I got good grades, which that's what I always told my mom. I'm like, hey, what do you want me to do? You want me to sit at home, watch TV? I got all my homework done. I get good grades. I got the job. Why do you care? But she was, sick at that time, and it's that part is a whole long story. My dad was always really cool about it. He was very supportive of it. So it was like a tough road to try to go down when I think about it. But now that I'm here, it obviously doesn't really seem like all that much. But yeah, she hated it.
So after you won COD XP, did you start competing just full? Like, you must have gotten put on a pro team at that point?
Yeah,
full
we
time.
weren't. So that's the kind of the catch-22 is that I actually got dropped from the OpTic competitive team once or twice, and at those times, just figured I wasn't going to compete anymore, and I was just going to do YouTube full time.
So you already thinking like that at that time?
I was making like Black Ops 1 sniper
Okay,
montages, MW2 sniper montages.
Okay, so you're already active on YouTube as well.
Yeah, but I didn't want to leave OpTic.
Okay, and were you making good money on YouTube at the time?
No.
Was it even monetized at that time?
I mean, it had to be monetized a little bit, but
Okay.
I mean, I could go back and look at my channel, but I know I wasn't making much, but it was better than what I would have been making at McDonald's.
Yeah,
Maybe
yeah.
like a couple thousand every single month, which at that time seemed like,
Yeah.
it seemed like the world was in my hands. But, my history is kind of rough, but I went back and forth from doing YouTube full time to competing when I would convince people from game to game when a new title would release, like, yo, you got to play with me. Hecz is going to let me do OpTic Nation or have a second team, even though the OpTic gaming team is like Rambo, Scump, Merc, Big Timer. But then, I think if I remember correctly, I kind of leveraged the fact that me and Scump were doing YouTube together. I was trying to convince him, like, dude, I'm better than Rambo. Just be on my team, and then we could have that.
Yeah.
And that's how Black Ops 2 sort of happened.
Wow.
So they dropped Rambo, and then it was me, Scump, Merc, and Big Timer we won the first event of the year, which was like UMG Chicago in 2000. This is the event where Hecz pushed me in that infamous YouTube video. And so it kind of just worked out in my benefit that I sort of had this like OpTic latched onto me and I'm latched onto OpTic. It was like, it was a healthy relationship, but it definitely gave me some like bargaining chips to like try to convince people to play with me instead of whoever was on the team at that time.
Yeah, I mean, well, at that point, you said you went back and forth between content and being a pro. At that point, you mastered both. Like you were like the biggest thing in gaming, and not to hype you up too much, but it's
Thanks,
true.
bro.
It's true.
I
You
mean,
were
in a
the-
small pocket.
No,
of
but
gaming.
you were the superstar of eSports. You were signed by Red Bull, right? At that time. So I mean, you definitely clearly figured it out. I mean, everyone remembers. I mean, even in big other games, like you always had that respect as a pro, right? Early on, and you were streaming and doing YouTube at that time, right? So that's obviously in the house, right? 60-50 you got on your
Yes, sir.
on your knuckles. That was a huge time. I was just speaking to Hecz about that a little bit in an episode I did with Hecz, but that was a very interesting time. I guess you were sponsored at Red Bull before that, or when you moved in?
I was sponsored by Red Bull. They coincided on the same timeline. I was
Okay.
sponsored by Red Bull at the house for sure.
Okay, so I would assume at that time you're making more money off of streaming and YouTube than actual competing.
I mean, we really weren't making a ton of money at that time. I mean, there was no sub button on Twitch, and my Red Bull contract, I was making like $12,500 base salary, and then there was
a year.
and there was
Oh,
an
wow.
opportunity to make like another $12,500 in total for 25 grand if I hit certain benchmarks from competing.
Wow.
And at that time, I was really in between if I should sign with Red Bull or G Fuel. I ended up obviously ticking Red Bull and worked with G Fuel later down the road. But Twitch, we were making good cash. We started to make good cash from Twitch when Black Ops 2. Like
Yeah.
all of a sudden, we went from like 500 viewers to 1,000. Then it compounded 1,000 to like 3,000. Then all of a sudden, me and Seth, would ping pong off each other, having like 10 to 15K watching. If I got online before him, he would have like 8,000 people watching, I'd have 15. Or if he got on before me, it'd be vice versa. So we were making good money off the ads, but it's not what people are making today.
Yeah.
And YouTube was doing pretty well. But even you guys were making way more money than us on YouTube. You were a tank in your own regard, in your own right. You guys were making cash hand over fist. I remember I would always compare myself to your guys' channels and your analytics. I'm like, dude, this got 30, 40, 50 million views this month. I think the highest I ever peaked at was like 15 million views a month. You guys were making cash hand over. YouTube was the play.
YouTube was what we did. I mean,
It was
maybe
better
back
than
then.
Twitch at that time.
At that time, yeah.
And that's why I never really Twitch before I went to MLG TV was like a hard conversation to have because Twitch took so much time.
Yeah.
But the output would just be so much better on YouTube.
It's crazy because that is for sure how it was. That's why I never got into streaming. I was making a YouTube video every day. And the money was way better on YouTube. It was way easier. For me, it's easier to make a video than sit on stream for 8 hours.
yeah.
Now you could say, I think streaming now it's swapped, I think. I see the money that...
I agree with that.
Now the money
Depending
that
on
people
who
make,
you are.
Exactly. If you're that big now, I think you'll make more money on... If you're at that size, I think you'll make more money on Twitch now than you would on YouTube. I mean, YouTube obviously still pays well, but like streaming and ads on Twitch and subs, it's unbelievable.
And for a lot of these guys on Twitch, their YouTube just kind of turns into like automatic paydays where they don't really have to do much if they find the right person.
Yeah.
And their YouTube just grows without them thinking about it.
Yeah, 100%. I think it's interesting about if you didn't do that though, if you didn't stream all those years on Twitch, then who knows if you would, you wouldn't probably have double-digit 10,000 plus viewers today still watching you. So
Yeah, I wish I never left, but
Yeah.
you live and you learn.
Once again, I mean, it's a testament to what you guys did that early on. I mean, both of you. I was literally sitting at home and I have Twitch open and I see you playing COD with like 10K viewers, and I see Scump playing with like 10K viewers. You guys are both like same thing again. I'm like, it's dope. It's dope. You're still both going, and you still both got people love you guys. People have grown up with you guys, and you guys obviously different, way different. You're probably way different today than you were in that house, but
Exponentially
but
different, yeah.
right, all the people that watched you back then and grew up now, and they're liking this phase in life that you're in now. But it's cool though. It's cool to see you had. Yeah, Twitch. You again, like it's easy for you to look at our analytics, but at the same time, we could look at you and be like, dude, this guy. Exactly to your point, you're streaming every day with tens of thousands of viewers. Then your YouTube videos are just popping off from your stream, right? You're just ripping it and volleying.
Yeah.
So it's all different. But you had that. You had the revenue from those, and you were getting a salary, I'm assuming.
No.
No. Okay.
No, I never had a salary at OpTic, but it made sense at that time why. Hector would find me like every now and again some brand deals. It's not like I didn't make any money from OpTic. Like it's not me crybaby cheesing, and this has like a history with Hector, which kind of led to me leaving the team, which I'm sure we'll talk about at some point. But the memory is hazy. All I know is that we never really had a salary, but Hector tried his best because we would sit there and we'd try to figure out like how are these other teams making money? Like how are they finding some of these deals? And that was before we had like a good grasp on what eSports would turn into, because we were sort of segmented off into this world of Call of Duty. It kind of felt like it was far away from all these other, triple or mainstream titles like League of Legends and StarCraft and Counter-Strike. And so there was no salary from that. I honestly really I didn't start making like good money until I signed like that MLG TV contract. And then YouTube, I got to spend more time on that because MLG TV was all sorts but yeah, the money's obviously a lot better now, but we are doing well compared to what I was doing prior, obviously.
Okay. Well, interesting. It's interesting here. And even Red Bull, hearing that they're paying you $12,000 a year is insane.
I mean,
like people expect, Red Bull, they probably think you're getting paid millions. Everyone always exaggerates in the head, but
honestly, I think it kind of helped that people thought that.
Yeah, no, for sure.
It kind of adds to like the lure of it.
It does for sure because it looks insane.
Yeah.
That's the thing. Like, maybe you didn't realize it at the time, but like even signing for that much was probably way more valuable for you to just be tied to Red Bull. Right?
For sure.
Yeah. Very interesting. But okay, so when you're in that house though, you're going through all these things. You became a huge streamer. You're a pro. You have been for a couple of years doing YouTube. Was Hecz, outside looking in, seems like Hecz was kind of like a father figure to everyone.
Oh, yeah.
What kind of role did he play in those years for you?
Hector honestly helped me just through the small things that he would do for us and the small ways he would reply to people and talk to people. It kind of like, in certain ways, taught me how to be a man. It sounds odd because my dad is one of the strongest, hardest I know.
Yeah.
But we didn't spend a lot of time together. Like, I didn't ask my dad how to shave. I obviously didn't ask Hector, but from an analogy perspective, there were just things that I picked up off of Hector and the way he carried himself that made me want to be like him. And my dad, busts his entire life. And when you get home from work, you either go work a side job or he'd just be dead from working outside. And he would take us to all of like our basketball games, baseball games when I was in elementary school and playing like Little League and all that. And I feel very lucky that I had my dad and still have my dad today helping me like figure out if I need him to or not. But Hector definitely just being around him so often. He's like 10 years older than me. He had lived a lot of life. Him and I were probably like exact opposites in high school. Just the way that he carried himself, I was always attracted to that because I wanted to be like him. And if he were sitting here, I'd lie to him. But yeah, I always felt very lucky to have spent a lot of time with Hector because he was quick with the joke too. He was always very witty. And I always wanted to be like that since I was so like quiet and reserved growing up.
Yeah. He was just in here. Obviously, I just finished filming with him. I was way out. It's funny to watch you guys interact because I obviously have nothing but respect for both of you. And, I've known both of you for so long, but you guys are very close. Obviously, you live together. And like you just described, right? He's kind of like a bigger brother, maybe, your father figure he was when you were younger.
Yeah.
So it's funny to see you guys kind of talk, like you said, you wouldn't probably say this right now in front of him if he was in the room.
I'd have to be talking.
Yeah.
We got similar sense of humor.
Yeah.
He'd pick us up, like bring us to the mall before an event, go grab something. He's the reason why I bought my first nice watch. Spent like $2,500 on a Tissot like skeleton in the mall. And I was honestly, that's one part that I wish I did not get from Hector is that he always had the mentality like money's going to come and go. So like you might as well enjoy it. Yeah. And I used to be really cheap and I'd be scared to spend any amount of money because I worked at McDonald's, bro. Like you're making minimum wage, making like $7.30. I would never spend or do anything that would ever put my money in jeopardy. But I got a little looser with it because of Hector.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, this is nice. But I try to return that watch. He's like, no, don't be, don't do that. So yeah, Hector was just always around, and that was actually one of my when I look back on it, probably my favorite parts of being on OpTic.
I can imagine, honestly.
Yeah, he's just like
he's a good dude.
He's like one of the guys. Like
Yeah,
you just
yeah.
want to be around. He's funny. He'll tell you like it is.
And he's looking out for your guys' best interest. So the first episode I recorded of this show was with Rain, and we spoke about, we had a similar experience in the New York house, living together, and we were 18, trying to figure it out. But me and him, I guess we're similar to you and Scump, right? If I can make the comparison. Like, we were the two biggest on YouTube at the time.
Yeah.
And we kind of beefed behind the scenes. Not really publicly, but we had some falling out a little bit at the beginning. We kind of were really jealous of each other. We were very competitive together.
Yeah, and that's a good thing, though. Like, hindsight.
Yes. So we speak about it like that, right? We speak about how, like, it made us better. And once we both clicked where it's like, we don't need to compete and want the other one to fail, but it should encourage us to do better, but not, we used to be mad when the other person's video would perform so well, for example. It was bad competition. But there's been
Us too.
Yeah,
Very toxic.
So I've heard, right? You guys have kind of spoke about it, but you and Scump. But is it true that you guys, like, how bad was it between you two?
I mean, it got bad at certain times. I mean, there's certain things that don't need to be said that you could just feel, especially when you're working side by side with each other. But
you guys were sitting next to each other, right?
Sitting next to each other. Yeah. I mean, listen, man, I always wanted to be the guy, just because I'm not a psychologist, but I think, and I certainly do believe this that I'm about to say. I don't think I'm a narcissist, but I definitely like attention in certain capacities, and I didn't necessarily understand that about myself when I was younger. Now that I'm older, and a lot of things that I cared about then, I don't care about as much now. Actually, little to no things. But Scump was always, I knew he was better than me in Call of Duty. And to be honest with you, I always thought Scump was funnier than me. But the only thing that I had that Seth didn't was that my viewership would be better than his on certain days or most days. And I think he had a couple pieces of things that I wanted to be or wish I was like, and I had something that he didn't have yet. And obviously, as time would tell, that is not true anymore. But we just wanted to be the one with the most viewers, and I think that was like natural at that moment in that era, because if the difference between having like 12,000 viewers versus like 6,000 viewers from an ad revenue perspective on Twitch was a massive change, bro. Before Twitch was really making creators the money they are today. So I think we just both wanted to be the number one guy, and that would get toxic for sure. Like, we'd be playing in a pub lobby together, trying to record for YouTube, and it's not every game for Seth, it was. Any game that he stepped into, he could probably upload it at that time for what the bar was and the measurement of what made a good gameplay. And it would just come so easy to him. And there was I think it was on Raid, where I got a swarm kill streak, which was like I think the biggest at the time on that game, but Seth didn't die that game. Or he got multiple swarms, but I didn't die. And he wanted to upload the video, but I wanted to upload the video. And it was things like that, small things like that, that would just chip away at each other, that would make us just hate each other.
It's hilarious because Hecz mentioned the exact same story.
Yeah.
When I asked him about from his perspective as like the leader of the house, whatever, right? Trying to because I'm sure he had to help step in some situations, guide you guys.
Well, the thing was I don't pride myself on it, but I'm hyper aware. I'm self-aware of the things that I say and how people will react to it. And I don't like to have people mad at me. And I definitely know at that time, it's not like we ever took business classes, but I had to stay on Seth's good side for sure, because I knew how good he was. Yeah. And being on his team would be a big deal for me in my career.
Yeah.
So there would be times where I'm like, there's no way that I'm in the wrong here, but I would have to sort of walk on eggshells because I didn't want to piss him off. But there's probably just boiling points where I couldn't take it anymore. I'm like, dude, you are delusional. And I'm sure I was delusional at the time too. I mean, I'm fine admitting that now, but to be honest with you, if I had to go back, I'm like, I don't know if I'm really in the wrong here.
Yeah.
But Seth, he was just the best at everything. So I kind of had to play the game a little bit to make sure he didn't hate me, because if he hated me, I'm off that team.
Really? Wow, that's very interesting.
He punched a door,
how you
brother.
feel. He punched the door?
Yeah. He punched it like a wooden door into the master bedroom because he was so mad at me, and he put a hole in it.
Oh, wow.
A wooden door, not like that's like plywood in the middle, or plywood wood. You'd think I'd know. My dad's a carpenter. was thick.
Yeah.
And he put a whole dude, because Seth was yoked at the time.
Yeah,
that
he
guy
was.
could lift
I
weights
forgot.
for like a month, and it looked like he was on T.
I'm thinking back to our house. I mean, Banks punched. You expect this, right? Banks
No
punched
way,
holes
really?
in walls. Banks headbutted holes in walls, actually.
Let's go, Ricky.
I've seen him headbutt a hole in a wall. I went to the hole, and there was like the fattest, what's it called? The stud in the middle, like an inch away from where his head
Oh
went.
my God.
So he barely missed it, but
He'd have been Antonio Brown out here.
yeah, maybe
No
he-
disrespect intended.
yeah, maybe but hearing Scump punch a hole is different. I mean, you lived with the guy, so I always know it's different, but I've never seen the rage side of him online. So
He's not that different than what he is on camera. He's really not. It was just like a
it
different.
happened. We're all humans. Like,
Yeah, bro.
But it's funny. It's also, again, like, it's just interesting for me to hear because again, we lived like parallel universes, right, in just different ways. So
We really did.
yeah, it's very interesting. So that's interesting that you say also the way that you're looking at it, of like you didn't want to piss him off. So you felt like he had Hecz. Was it like you think he had Hecz on his front?
No, I mean, to be fair, I still we were both Hector's guy, but
Yeah.
Hector's big on loyalty, and I had been around since like day one, and so even when Seth left OpTic to join Envy in Ghosts after UMG Philly, Hector left the decision up to me of whether we would let Scump join back again.
Okay, so I don't have the best memory. I was gonna ask you.
Yeah.
So you were still on the team when he left.
Yeah.
Was that because of your guys' beef?
I think it was a combination of Seth didn't like living in the house anymore. There was a lot of, contention between us on certain like weeks or certain months. And I don't think we were playing that well. And so he decided without really talking to any of us on the team that he was going to leave. So he drove all the way back from Philly, I think it was, to the house in Chicago, grabbed all of his stuff before our flight landed and left.
Oh, so he didn't see you guys. He
Didn't see any of us. And I texted him like, yo, I know that we've got a lot of problems, but I always consider like we're friends at the end of the day. I mean, this is just business and like that. And he texted me a very infamous quote where he said, the only thing he said to me after not replying for hours, and the only message I ever got from him after this was, keep your friends close, keep your enemies closer. On some like sick twist.
You guys definitely meme that now, right?
Straight out of the movie. We don't do it enough.
That if I was you, I would drop that line on him every time I talk to him. That is hilarious.
What's even crazier is that we picked up this kid named Dito for the tournament the next day.
Dito was on FaZe for a little too. Yeah.
And then we beat him.
No,
And we outplaced
so
him
he
in that
played with
tournament.
Envy. I didn't know he actually played with Envy.
For like an online tournament.
Okay.
That weekend.
Because I know he came back like a week later.
Yeah, he wanted to join the team back, and we were sitting in the laundry room or something. I think we were talking away from all the players, me and Hector. He's like, it's up to you. And I knew at that time, like I always knew, we're better off with Seth on the team than not.
Yeah.
I mean, that's how good he was. So I'm like,
I mean, he was probably what at the
because I
time?
really did like Seth, bro. I thought Seth was hilarious. I liked being around Seth.
Yeah.
Every friend or family member, there's certain things you don't like about them.
Yeah.
And vice versa. But at the end of the day, like you got like a love for him.
Yeah, yeah.
And I knew he was better off competitively on our team than not.
That's hilarious. I mean, he was probably what, like 18, 19 at that. Not even. No. He must have been at least 18, right?
It's 2013, 2012, or 2013, 2014. How old am I? It's 2024, 11. I was like 20, 21. He was, probably like 17, 18 or something.
So it's like, dude,
we're so young.
It sounds like such a rash decision, but it's like when you're that big, you have that much attention, you got making decisions like that. I've heard him mention it too, that like he was like Castro like pulled him to the side at an event and like he was like venting to him, and it's he's 17 years old. It's an interesting period of life. It's funny that he made that decision, came back a week later. Because that's a big, to go to the house, take the stuff. Send
Hashtag
you
green
that
wall,
quote.
bro. He was like, oh no, what did I do?
That quote, that text is hilarious. Dude,
Yeah.
that's actually, I don't know, I don't think I've ever heard that before. But I can't believe I don't hear that more.
Yeah.
I would hold that, I would repeat that every time I talk. That is hilarious, dude.
Damn.
You should put that on a t-shirt
I should do it.
with his face.
I should do it.
Oh, man. Okay, so I was going to ask you if there was a point where you guys kind of were like, one of you was like, it's either me or him, but seems like not really, but maybe that was the closest it got to it. When he
That was
left.
definitely the closest
Yeah.
it got to it. But after that, it was like water under the bridge. And
Then what about you leaving OpTic, right? You obviously left OpTic
yeah.
famously again. And again, sorry for my poor memory. I don't
No,
know
it's
if
all right.
you were competing still, or if you left when you were just a creator, or like what was it like leaving OpTic and that decision?
Yeah, so it was after COD Champs AW. We won 3 events that year. COD Champs was the one we were supposed to win, and we got 7th, 8th place. And I kind of knew in my head that there was no way, at least from my perception of it, that I could stay on the team competing after we lost COD Champs. Like, I felt like Crimp hated me. They were probably feeling the pressure that they thought they could do better with somebody else. And at that time, after winning 3 events and OpTic being at the biggest it's ever been, this wasn't like a new feeling for me. And YouTube was going so well for me at the time. And I was talking to my ex at that period where I'm like, dude, I don't need this stress. I could go make more money. I could go just do YouTube full time. And me quitting competitive didn't really have to do with eventually leaving OpTic. It was more so I just didn't want the responsibility and the stress of trying to keep this team together and constantly being the scapegoat for if we would lose. Why I'm the reason why we lost.
Yeah.
And I really hated the way that losing would make me feel and the way that it would make me react because, like you said, with Norden, you're probably very competitive.
Yeah.
I think a lot of men are competitive by nature, but I really struggled with losing because I never got to feel what it would be like to lose if I wasn't on the biggest team that had the most pressure. And it's a blessing and a curse. You know, like my life is the reason it is today because of those years I spent on OpTic.
Yeah.
But I always am curious to see what it would have been like to be a pro player away from that, aside from like the success and my life as it is today, just how I would have been feeling about competing if there wasn't that much pressure to win every single tournament that we played.
Yeah.
I decided to leave the team. I never officially retired. I just said I'm taking a break. They're going to sign somebody. They ended up bringing in, I think, Enable for a couple events, but it was going to be Karma, yada, yada, yada. The rest is history, Dynasty.
Yeah.
But then I was going to LA every couple weeks to see my ex-girlfriend at the time. And, when you're young in a relationship like that, there's not really many things that are going to stop you from pursuing it.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, I'm going to leave I'm going to leave the content house. I'm going to move to LA. Can't believe I did that to this day. And YouTube kept going pretty well for me. And I was in that relationship for a long time. But there was just a lot of, which, if you watch my stream now, you know how hard I tweak about everything, whether it's the settings in game, our team playing while I'm doing a watch party. I'm just an overthinker by nature. And my biggest problem with OpTic at that time was that going back to the thing that we had no salaries and Hector would bring us money as he could, but Hector was always in a really tough position and I could feel the stress. He didn't show it often, but I could feel the stress of him having to make decisions on whether and how to divvy up money that comes in because, you got to make decisions for not only all the players, but then he has his family, he has his own career, and then he has the team. There's just a lot of things I think that circulated through his brain, and he might tell the story differently or not, but that's the way that I felt. And I just felt like if I were doing my own thing and didn't have to worry about the rules of engagement that happen while being on a team that I'm not getting paid to be on, I can't waste. I just quit competitive, which is everything that I've ever known.
Yeah.
And that was what allowed me to have this YouTube career. Brand deals start popping up. I have to say no to certain opportunities. At the time, Hector had told me about some ownership in the company. And with now how I understand it today, I think he was telling the truth.
Yeah.
But just legally and how you file everything from like a corporation perspective and taxes and timing, I started to sort of see doubt in whether he was actually looking out for my best interests or not. Because he had all of these things to worry about. I've got myself to worry about now. I need to make as much money as possible. It's only been a couple years since I dropped out of college.
Yeah.
I don't know if this is forever.
Yeah.
Every day I'd wake up uploading to YouTube. I'm like, this might be the day where nobody clicks on the video, which I'm sure you've felt a million times in your life.
Yeah.
So at that point, after having conversations with, my ex at the time, and her sister was really big on YouTube, the idea sort of stemmed in my head, well, what if I just did this solo? And it was... Honestly, now that I think about it, the hardest part wasn't leaving OpTic. It was sort of like losing conviction in my relationship with Hector because at that point, I thought he was like, and still is now, obviously, one of my best friends. And I genuinely care about him and his family. I have a lot of he's like a brother.
Yeah.
But, you know, you're young and you got all these ideas swirling around in your head. And I decided that it would be better for me if I could go try to capitalize on this thing that I was doing by myself and not worry about all this yellow tape, which hindsight now to me was one of the best and worst decisions I've ever made in my life. After that happened, me and Hector didn't speak for a while. I think I told this story on stream or a podcast a couple months back, but I didn't care about the gap between me and OpTic. I just, like, you know how Hector was telling a story about somebody up, like, I'm just not going to talk to him anymore?
Yeah.
I went up to him where there was like a party in LA and he was there and I went up to talk to the circle that he was in and I never felt more uncomfortable in my life, which is insane to feel knowing what my relationship was like with Hector.
Yeah.
And he just looked at me, nodded, and didn't say a word to me. And so that sat with me for a long time, for months. And I think I was like drinking one night and I got on my computer and wrote like an entire like email message, like poured everything out that I had been thinking about to him and apologized for the way that I handled certain things and just try to repair the relationship. So I don't remember the exact timeline now, but it took some time for me and Hector to even start talking again.
Yeah.
And even after that, I think it took even more years for us to sort of feel like where I'm at now. Like I texted Hector last night. I don't know why. I was feeling like sentimental, but there's just a couple things that him and I have talked about in the last couple months. Just personal things that he shared with me, whether it's around family, business. And I told him, without sounding corny or dramatic, I'm like, you know, I just really appreciate you sharing those things with me. It kind of feels like the old days and stuff like that. And even when I first was coming out here to visit and record videos, you could tell like there was this, not uneasiness, but since I am, and I've always been like socially awkward, I'm always trying to read people and don't know how to act in certain situations. I could just feel like something was just a little off. Like we're talking and joking around and acting like we're back in the old days. But I think now, as enough time has passed, we're like basically back where we used to be.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it still sucks because 100 Thieves and OpTic are separate.
Yeah.
So not everything can be, you know, exactly the way that it was before.
Yeah.
But from a personal standpoint, you know, I think our relationship is as strong as it was back when I was on the team.
It's great to hear because I've heard you over the years like talk about how much you hate the LA vlog era that you did, right? Like that content. And just,
yeah.
And like you're saying, like those relationships, because that's one of the things that's bothered me the most with FaZe as well. With like the fall off of FaZe is like, hopefully the rebound is happening now, right? But let's just when that drop happened for like 2 years, one of the worst parts was like you said, like some members like Tico, like I'll just say, I mean, me and Tico have a great relationship now, but like there was like friction that we never had, and it was like it wasn't because of each other, but it was because of things that were happening, and it's like, you know, like I'm the one that's communicating with him, and that stuff bothered me way more than like you said, the disconnect from like even FaZe or like wanting the business to do better. Like the things that really bothered me was when I had problems with someone that was really close, like Tico or other FaZe members. So again, I can relate on that. Like I'm so happy that I have a great relationship with him again, and I'm sure you are. You know, you obviously moved here recently, right?
Yeah.
You finally got out of LA. Congratulations.
Yeah, man. I was just tied to it for so long after start 100 Thieves. Like there's just no way, because I was in the office like 3, 4, 5 days a week.
I'm sure.
So going back to what you said real quick.
Yeah.
Man, for anybody I think that was a part of FaZe or OpTic or 100 Thieves or any other team, anything in gaming really, I just think the industry was still so young and is still so young to this day. We were like the first generation of people that had to deal with learning how difficult friendships and business can actually be.
Yeah.
And I don't think that there is a roadmap or a blueprint that anybody was able to make decisions based off of what's happened in the past and used prior situations as inspiration on how to navigate certain things. And I definitely don't think that that should excuse decisions that certain people have made or things that have happened. Mm-hmm. But everybody was so young trying to figure out their life, figure out what they're supposed to be doing, how they're supposed to be handling, and figuring out and trying to make decisions for so many people who are affected by those things. I'm glad to hear that you and Tico, because I love Tico.
Yeah,
I
me
obviously
too.
don't know him nearly as well as you do, but every time when I would go to the FaZe house, I loved hanging out with him.
He's the nicest dude. He really
So
is.
I'm just glad people like us in situations like this can still just kind of like the past be past and just know that everybody was in a tough situation.
Yeah, it was. I know. That's why I try not to make myself look like a victim, especially when I'm talking to someone like him. I'm like, dude, I completely understand how you feel about, FaZe. A lot of the FaZe members, I tell them, I understand how you feel about not getting certain things the way it should. But it's like, dude, from my perspective, I was trying to do everything that I could for you guys. But it's like, and for what I thought was the right thing to do too. It's not just for them. I actually thought it was the right thing to do too. But it's like, I'm hitting a brick wall at the top with the board or whatever. And it's like,
Yeah.
on top of all that too, it all being public and having hundreds of thousands of people's comments and views and everyone watching it's rough. And again, there's way worse situations. Not acting like I'm like,
Well,
feel
here's the
bad
thing.
for us. Like, what did you say? Crybaby cheese. Is that what you
Crybaby
said?
cheese, yeah.
I'm not trying to do that, but it's like, it is also something that, like, again, only few people will really understand it. And you're one of the few people that can really understand what I'm saying. And it's just like, that's why I just swallow it. I'm just like, whatever. Like, I know deep down that I tried to do my best throughout this whole time with all my friends. I did not try to I made sure I could do my best with everyone. I didn't intentionally do wrong by anyone. It's like, whatever came from it, that's the thing. People, also, I think as time goes by, we all kind of rekindle naturally those relationships. Because again, you live with someone, you live with Scump and Hecz, and it's like, dude, they have a piece of you. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's hard to not have that relationship.
Everything that you just described is exactly how I feel about certain situations that I've been in. Like, even hearing you say and apologize for, I'm not trying to sound like a victim. The problem is when you deliver messages based off of situations that have happened in front of large audiences, they don't realize that decisions are not decisions as they happen, and what comes after look and seem binary. Like, it's zeros and ones. It's either yes or no. This happened or this didn't happen. But they don't understand, and it, quite frankly, there's no way for them to know whether that's for good or bad, whether the person that they're watching or trying to interpret was doing everything they could or the best that they could to do right by the people that they were working with. And I don't even want to kick up dirt because I'm not a part of any drama right now, but one day I would like to tell the whole story around like Nick Merckx and everything, because I'm not a victim of that situation. I agree with some things that Nick said. I disagree with others that he said, but nobody will ever know what I was doing behind closed doors to try to make everything work and allowing other people to make decisions on it. Yeah. And a lot of it I had to just sit there and take when that's a whole nother thing. That's another part that I don't ever talk about just because,
I don't even want to ask about
Yeah.
it, but like, I don't know the details of it, of course, either, but I can just imagine.
Yeah.
Like, I know that's exactly how I felt. And again, this is what's funny, but like, I just know this is how I know the more you talk this, I'm going to feel, but like, it's just like, dude, I would be shocked when like a FaZe member would say something to me and I'm like, dude, like, I wouldn't even tell, like, I'd just be like, dude, if only you knew what I'm saying about you and what I'm trying to do. And like, you think that I'm trying to screw you over. I'm just like, dude, it's just the worst spot to be in. When I say the worst spot, I understand. It's still all blessing, whatever. But in this industry, I'm saying being like, the face and the founder, you look like you have decisions and you're trying to make everyone it's not fun to be there in the middle at all. And I don't envy anybody that is in a position like that. And, I'm happy that that's not necessarily what I have to do anymore. For so many years at FaZe, that was my everyday. It was just like, I wake up and I'm like, here we go. I look at my phone. What's going to happen today? It's either a FaZe member texting me, pissed off, I paragraphed this much, F this, F that, I'm over this. Or it's, a corporate, someone on the corporate team saying, we have a problem with this FaZe member and this and this and that. It's just like every day it was just, the world's ending, the world's ending, the world's ending. It's just like Tfue lawsuit, right? Or just Save the Kids comes out. And it's like, dude, you just like, it just never stops. And like, you just being there in the middle of that, it's just crazy, man. And again, like you can understand, right? As you who has been the face of 100 Thieves, and obviously you left OpTic, and that's what you eventually started, which we didn't really. Obviously, we're gonna get to it, right? But I guess it's a perfectly natural time to do it, right? So you ended up starting 100 Thieves. Mm-hmm. That's after what, like 2-3 years in LA?
Yeah, 2015 to like 2017.
Okay, let's say you stopped. You're making full-time content still, up until 2015,
Up till like the end of 2017.
which is around when I stopped also, actually.
Yeah, right when 100 Thieves like officially started, and all of a sudden, my business partner at the time is like, "We're gonna be in the office every day."
Yeah.
And it's funny when I say that because I'm like the CEO.
Yeah.
But I'm like, well, I don't know what I'm doing, and he does, so I'm just gonna listen to this guy. And then I'm like, dude, I can't do YouTube and this at the same time. And quite frankly, was burnt out, which is why 100 Thieves started in the first place. So
It's so funny to me. It's the exact same story with me. I was over YouTube too. I'm not gonna lie. Like didn't want to make videos anymore.
Yeah.
And at that time, our quote unquote CEO got outed for funneling money to his family members and all this stuff. And the guy got kicked out. And we had our other CEO come in who was also no longer there. But I remember like I was the only one out of us 4 founders that was like, all right, let me go into the office and like try to salvage what I can. So I stopped making YouTube videos. My income, I was making money. I was making good money. Looking back, I can't believe, it was the biggest blessing on earth. And I stopped all of that, and I went into the office, and not one employee in the office knew who I was, right? I'm one of the biggest FaZe members at the time, the founder, right? Nobody knew who I was. And I had to, like, swallow my ego, pride, whatever, and I had to just, like, introduce myself. And I, like, slowly threw myself in the corporate environment, right? And I stopped making content. And I know you did, too. And the reason I'm giving this whole background is because there's a recent clip of you when you're back to streaming now. Again, we're skipping a lot and we're going to come back. But you're back to streaming now for the first time in a long time. You're kind of fully focusing on content.
Yeah.
And there was a leak basically during your subathon, if you don't mind me mentioning it.
Nah, whatever.
Okay. Right?
I already had to deal with it.
You accidentally showed your dashboard on Twitch.
Because I was sending an email to Twitch about, hey, why haven't I made money from ads the last 5 days? Which sounds insane because people got to see that number.
I know. Once again,
I'm like, bro, people can do math, but
Yeah.
it was 1 month.
Yeah. No, but I mean, listen, again, hope you don't mind me, but it was like $250,000.
Yeah.
In 1 month on Twitch, which again is insane. And I know it was a subathon also, so it's not necessarily a normal month on Twitch, especially for yourself.
Yeah.
Me who had a very similar experience as we keep saying, right? Living in my parallel universe. When I see you making that much money, I swear to God, maybe other than your wife and your dad I don't think there's anyone that's genuinely happier than someone like myself. I swear to God, because I'm like, dude, I know how you've probably felt since you stopped in 2017, and because I watched your clip of you explaining it, because you sat for like 10 minutes on stream, like, okay, guys, and you gave your whole spiel about, it's a lot of money, and you explained how you felt like you missed out on so much while you're building 100 Thieves. And I've thought about that over and over and over in my head in my room as after FaZe crashed. And I'm like, dude, I just put all my eggs in this basket. I stopped making money. My savings are gone. Like, what am I doing, right? So to see someone like yourself who I know, like we spoke to in the last couple of years, I know you're in a similar boat. So I was very happy to see that, right? And I also know you having a kid now. I'm sure you look at money completely different now.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure you look at it and you're so grateful to be making money like that. So first and foremost, I want to just say I'm happy and congrats on that huge month. And I know you said the ads stopped. Hopefully they'll come back.
Well, they're not as good as they were pre-subathon and pre-election, but it's still doing well.
Yeah.
The money thing was tough. Look, I was getting paid I was getting paid well at 100 Thieves.
Yeah.
I wasn't making over $1 million. I'll just say it. Like most years, my salary was like $600,000.
Okay.
And I sold a little bit of equity on 2 raises that we did, and so it's not like I was pinching pennies. The more these clips get brought up, the more I feel the need to not continue to perpetuate the idea that I was eating instant ramen noodles every single.
No, I understand.
You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
I've done well for myself, but it's a tough situation. Why it's hard to talk about money in front of folks, because in my eyes, when I think about 8 years away from content, and we bring up the fact that you were burnt out, I was burnt out. Who knows what would have happened on YouTube and Twitch and all of that. But as the Fortnite boom and the Warzone boom and the creators that we were bringing on and the deals that we were bringing them and the money we were paying them.
That also doesn't help, by the way.
Yeah.
When you're funneling, I mean, you're happy for the people. You're bringing them huge deals.
Yeah.
You're happy that your creators are making money, but it doesn't help what you feel like you're missing out on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
These are problems that people will hear about that may scoff at the idea of complaining, but just because somebody's problems seem obscene and absurd to somebody else doesn't mean that's not my reality.
Yeah.
And so I don't ever get on the internet and complain about the money that I could have made or the money that I'm making now beyond the 100 Thieves, LA Thieves, salary debacle with the Call of Duty players, Scrap and Hydra, because that story is very much true. But there's always just your human beings by nature are greedy, and I think that I could have made exponentially more money if I were making content full time in the time that I started 100 Thieves, than I would have if I didn't make the decisions that I did.
Yeah.
So the subathon month, yes. Was it $250,000? Absolutely. I think there's only been 1 month on Twitch where I've made over $100,000 in a single month, and I'm not saying that to sound as if this isn't an ungodly amount of money and woe is me.
Yeah.
I just want people to be clear, because in my mind, not trying to sound self-serving in a way, or not self-serving, but I'm like, listen, there are 100,000 creators on YouTube and thousands of people on Twitch that have been on this platform for like 8, 10 years that are making way more than I am. And I'm like, wait, I leaked it on accident, but what's everybody? I just got here again, bro. This is my first month, and that's never going to happen again unless I do another subathon and pray to God that these boys lift me up the way that they did. Yeah. But I promise you I'm not complaining about the money. Beyond grateful that I can take care of my family, and I always have been and always will be through doing what I love. But I don't want people to think I'm making $250,000 every single month, because it's just not true.
Yeah, I mean, especially when people see valuations of 100 Thieves and FaZe, like when FaZe is valued at $1 billion, I'm like, I got family members thinking that I have $1 billion. I'm like, brother, to that point, and I've mentioned it, but I've never sold one share of my FaZe. I never cashed out or anything, right? And it's like, the reality is just so much different than people think. And I don't know. There's a lot of things. Maybe some people will be able to kind of grasp why we feel the way we feel about certain things. But like you said, even if it's not the most relatable thing and it sounds crazy to some people, I don't think any of us are trying to complain or, again, you spoke about your background. My dad had $100 when he moved to this country. Like, we get it. Like, we're not, I mean, again, like, anyways, it's hard. I think the worst thing is also just feeling like you're missing on opportunity that you don't know if it will come back. And I think everyone can understand that.
Well, and you also battle with yourself on, like, what should I continue to allow people to believe this is the perception? Yeah. Because if I break what they believe is reality and sit and talk about what's actually happening, it's still better than most and 99% of Americans. So then you just sound like a prick. Yeah. So it's...
For me, it's just more of just stressing over what could have been, what opportunity. Like, now I'm never going to be able to do that again. That's why when I saw that month for you, like, at least it probably gave you so much confidence and, like, comfort and, like, okay, maybe if I really keep streaming, you'll be good, at least. Yeah. The viewers will be there. Maybe it's not going to be the numbers you had at the subathon every month, but you at least know now that you can fully dial into streaming, and you have been, right? Yeah. As I keep mentioning, I've seen you on TikTok. See you, like, every day you're doing it.
200 plus hours a month, dude.
Yeah, and it's like, at least it's stability. For me, the reason I wanted to get back to making content more than anything, it's like I just need something that I can do consistently, that I know will consistently just, like, I'll keep moving instead of sitting and thinking, which I did for 2 years. What if I didn't stop making videos? What if FaZe didn't crash? And I just had to start, right? So I feel like I don't know if that's the case for you, why you started streaming, but I think for you stream and to have that great reception on the first month back, I mean, hopefully now, you think for 2025, you're locked in. Like, you're going to be streaming and you probably feel comfortable knowing what you're going to do every day.
No, I'm ready to be, I'm streaming for the rest of my life, bro. Like, I mean, after working in a business and corporate setting with the amount of responsibility decisions you have to make, I think the best thing that I can be doing for 100 Thieves and my family is to be doing what I originally stumbled upon by sheer luck and timing that I'm good at, which is just making cock jokes on the internet, brother.
And I think,
and I'm not gonna try to break that reality again. I like doing what I'm doing. Some months are tougher than others, but dude,
to your point though,
I ain't going back, bro.
Yeah, ain't good.
This is better. It really is a better gig than anything else I could be doing in my mind.
And I think for 100 Thieves, you're right too. I think it's very important for 100 Thieves, like, to have yourself, you've always been the face, but to have yourself pop in on Twitch can only be good for the company too. Yeah. So we haven't really spoke about 100 Thieves, and again, I'm not gonna go through the entire story because you've spoke about it, and you spoke about how you're obviously a founder of 100 Thieves. You started it. So sick name. I love it. I think it's very unique.
Thank you.
And now you've told the story about, everything about the inception, how it was supposed to be a merch company, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it kind of transformed slowly into what it is
Yeah.
today. In a couple sentences, I guess, can you describe what it is up until today? What has 100 Thieves been? Because like you said, maybe you wanted it to be a merch company, and I don't want to make you do the same thing that you've said probably, but just a couple sentences. how
Yeah,
would you
brother.
describe
I
it?
mean, we're an esports team. I think now, in my mind, first and foremost, that hasn't always been the case. I mean, we were an esports team, but we're also like focusing on trying to be like a media company at the same time. At one point, we had an energy drink. At another point, we were trying to be a game publisher. And then, when business is going well
Yeah.
and you're making more money and investors want to see higher returns and see the scale continue to rise and the valuations that you're getting, you feel pressured to try to make and create more value with the momentum that you have. And I don't actually know if, and quite frankly, I believe it's not the right strategy. I probably would have focused more on the core business as it was, which was apparel, content, and esports, rather than taking as big of a swing that we did. But we're an entertainment business that primarily focuses on esports. I guess that kind of contradicts how I started these things. My biggest focus that I care about the most with 100 Thieves is having the best teams in the world competing across multiple titles.
Above the merch even now?
I think the apparel and the merchandise coincide with that success and can be successful standing on its own or intertwined with the things that I care about the most right now. And if you talk to a few executives at 100 Thieves, they might not necessarily agree with the order of which I have things slated out of my mind, but I think that's what's important for the business and the legacy that I want to leave on 100 Thieves in the gaming community.
I think biasedly, maybe, but I think without a shadow of a doubt, if that's what you think 100 Thieves should focus on, then that's what 100 Thieves should focus on. And I know it sounds obvious to me, to you, to a lot of people listening, but people would be shocked to know maybe that people don't always really hold those opinions to weight at the scale that they should be. I don't know if that makes sense. Maybe, again, I might be projecting about FaZe, but, I think that's so important, is having you lead the direction of it. And, I know you were the CEO. You were making day-to-day in the office. You were kind of like, you're recruiting talent. Even, I'm sure you were, like you said, we were talking about before, titles and thumbnails on videos and social media posts. And I've talked to you about this again, too, about like how you caption things on social media. Like me and you both, I think, have this hyper fixation on every detail. And I know you were doing that for so long. Are you still the CEO today?
Title, yes.
Okay.
But look, a lot of stuff like this has remained behind closed doors.
Okay.
I have told our board multiple times that I don't want to be the CEO.
Yeah.
And separating myself enough from the business to where I can stream full time again and make money from streaming again, that was a conversation that spanned across many, many, many months and quite frankly, many years. My previous business partner, John Robinson, he left the company at the beginning of this year. And this was at a time where I was trying to separate myself from the title of CEO. And both those things happening at the same time, the executives at 100 Thieves, like Jason Tan, who's our CFO, has been with us since like the second year. Julie Van was our head of HR, and she walked us through the multiple rounds of layoffs. She is an incredible, incredible leader where people love to work with her because they can listen. She listens to them, and she helps guide the company through those decisions. And when John left and I wanted to step away as a CEO, she stepped up to be the COO.
Okay.
And now she's helping operate the business with Jason. And then Jacob is the president of 100 Thieves, which I think all three of them, in a way, are kind of taking on the responsibility as the CEO.
Okay.
And this is why, listen, every company, especially at a scale like this, definitely needs definitive roles and definitive responsibilities. But I think the problem that 100 Thieves had was that John and I coupled a lot of responsibility for the business and conversations and board meetings with the board. And John was a good operator, but John also liked to make sure every decision ran through him. And I think now having Julie, Jason, and Jacob, plus Pat, and a number of other people at the company operate it sort of like as one unit together, which I'm not saying it wasn't like that before, but there were just more hurdles and roadblocks for everybody else because John would always want to make sure that he had a temperature check from me before he made a decision.
Yeah.
And if I disagreed with something John wanted to do, him and I would have like a pretty healthy back and forth about what direction we should go. But I think John had a good way of wearing me down to where he could navigate and make the decisions for the company. And I don't think the majority of them were bad, but there definitely were disagreements between us, and we would try to find, at least from my perspective, try to find the right path forward. But the long story short of it is, after all of that word vomit, I just could not step away as the title CEO because Jason, Jacob, and Julie thought that there would just be too much disconnect between what the community was perceiving was happening with 100 Thieves, with John leaving and me going to step away to do full-time content, that they wanted to wait until we either made like Jacob the CEO or found a replacement for me. Yeah. And the board sort of agreed with that. And that was really actually a contentious point for me because I'm like, guys, I've been sitting here trying to tell you that I should not be doing this. And I don't want, it's not even about the community thinking that I'm trying to like run away from the responsibility. It was just the thought of me being on the hook for anything else that was happening at this business when, quite frankly, I should not be doing this as it is. Like, I can help with the creative, I can help with the direction, but I'm not suited for the day-to-day management. And quite frankly, had a lot of help with John, the majority of him basically acting as a CEO. So it was just, I don't want to, because I'm not throwing anybody under the bus, but I didn't think that there would be a big issue with me stepping away and John leaving at the same time.
Okay.
And I told them because they were having a massive weight now put on their shoulders with the two people that they relied on the most to do their jobs effectively leaving. So I'm like, all right, I'll stay the CEO for the rest of the year. But they were totally understanding and agreed, like, you do whatever you want.
Yeah.
I'm still on the board. I'm still doing as much as I can when they need me, but they're operating the business as it stands today.
Okay.
And to be honest with you, as we have this conversation, I need to get on my P's and Q's about this full-blown, not separation, but like when people ask me this question, I don't have a great answer for them. And, you know, obviously now I just said it all. Yeah. But it was really just trying to make sure that there wasn't too much damage done to the perception of 100 Thieves.
I get it, yeah.
And to be honest with you, if you look back at the last year, they've done an incredible job. I mean, they've been instrumental in continuing to help grow the business, and we're actually in a really good place, not only financially, but I think culturally. They, instead of doing like a monthly all-company meeting, they do it every single week, and all the employees feel more informed. They feel more responsible for everything that we do rather than sort of just doing the job that they've been siloed off to. And I don't think that's one size fits all, that it's a good thing at all times, but I think for the majority of the time, it is a very good thing for a business like ours. So I am still technically the CEO. I'm still on the board and will continue to be on the board, but I'm not doing anything nearly even remotely as close as I was when I was living in LA, going in the office every day.
And that might even be healthier for your relationship with 100 Thieves long term.
It's way healthier because I'm sure you felt this as well.
Yeah.
My biggest thing that I told the board and my biggest thing that I try to explain time and time again is that we have now made decisions so many times on so many things that we do every single day, whether it's the way that jerseys look or whether this partner that we're pitching to would actually be a good fit, whether this creator is the right creator, whether Juvee and this flavor that we should be doing and this Highground decision, this collaboration. I'm like, guys, I don't, you know, the CEO is supposed to set the direction for the business and have everybody else go execute on that. And I do think I had a good direction in the early years of 100 Thieves, in part with help from John. But now that I've been under the hood for so long, I don't even trust the decisions and the things that I think anymore, whether it's good or not, because at every turn of the corner and a good, you know, the government, we have checks and balances. In the business, me and John, we agreed on a lot of things, but we also contrasted with each other on certain aspects because I come, you know, natively from gaming. He worked in gaming for a good part of his career, but there were certainly things that me as like a tastemaker, we would disagree on. And I think a lot of the things that we experienced at 100 Thieves made me start to doubt my instincts. And I'm like, well, I don't want to go in the office and put in a big fight for this and fight for this, that, and the other, because I don't even know if I believe that I'm saying and thinking.
Yeah.
So I told them, I'm like, not only should I not be the CEO of this business, but I need to be a step removed away from the day-to-day decisions that I may not have necessarily built up entirely myself, because a lot of the success of 100 Thieves is built off the backs and work of other people.
Yeah.
I need to be like a fan of 100 Thieves again, away from this stress, so I can actually trust the decisions that I'm making and help you guys make informed decisions on everything from here on out without me being tied down to the weight of this business, because I don't know what's right and what's wrong anymore. So I need to get away from it. I need to sit here and actually be able to do what I'm best at, not doubt myself anymore on what I'm spending my time doing day to day, not doubt myself on what I'm going to say in this meeting about this X, Y, and Z. And I think that's what's been the best thing for me. And I think it is the best thing for the business, as long as Jason, Julian, Jacob, and the entire executive team, along with Pat on apparel, are comfortable with how I'm interacting with the business and if they're set up for success with the tools that they have without me.
Very interesting, man. Even like, thankfully, like you said, the results have been good.
I think they've been good.
Yeah, and I think you even wanting to step away again. That's like the opposite of what people would expect. Most people, they want the title, they don't want to do the work. You're like, I don't want the title because it's not what's best for the company. It's because it's not what's best for you. You were operating. At the end of the day, it's for what's best for 100 Thieves.
Yeah,
you know, it's for you, but it's also for 100 Thieves. And
I believe that.
Yeah.
So whether somebody disagrees, I don't care. I wrestled with this thing for years, bro.
Yeah, no, I can imagine.
Thinking
bro.
about it every
I can imagine.
I genuinely thought I was about to have a mental breakdown, bro. Like, if you brought my wife and had her sit next and talk to me, for years, the only thing that she would hear from me is about what I hated at doing the job that I was doing. I'm not built for it. I don't want it. I have a profound respect for folks that run businesses, and maybe if the entire idea of being a creator didn't exist and that road in my head was blocked off and all I had to do was focus on it and this was the only thing that mattered, maybe I'd be better at it. But just knowing that there's this thing that I know I'm good at, that I've been doing my entire life, and I basically just stopped it completely when 100 Thieves started for many different reasons. If that didn't exist and this outlet didn't exist, maybe I'd be better at it, but I don't know.
It's interesting. Yeah,
running a business is not easy.
It's not,
and it's not for me.
Maybe the peak years of FaZe, like when I say peak, I'm saying from a company size, financially, whatever. For me, the peak years were earlier on, right, when we were all having fun with it a little more. But I didn't enjoy those years, man. I didn't enjoy when we were doing these massive collaborations and huge events and Fortnite. Maybe I enjoyed some parts of it, like the World Cup. I enjoyed it, but most of the time, like you just mentioned, every day was just me, like, dude, I hate this, I hate that. I don't want to do this anymore. I can't even look at my phone. I want to throw up when I see my phone and I see this text or that text. It was like, so I completely get it. It's just like, it's also when you have so many uncontrollable variables, like different people, so many opinions, so many personalities. It's not easy. Like you said, this time is valuable for us too, in our 20s and coming out of
20s.
Success.
I'm 32.
Yeah, I'm 28. I'm saying the last.
You're 28.
I'm almost 32. I'm almost 30, as well.
I didn't realize I was 4 years older than you.
Yeah.
I feel
How old
worse
did you
about
think?
myself.
You think I was like 30 already?
I thought you were my age.
And I'm 20.
God
Yeah.
damn it, banana phone, 34.
Basically 30.
Was it 314 or 34?
34.
Okay, I knew I wasn't faded.
Yeah, but for me, again, if I didn't have Banks, Tommy, and Rain, I wouldn't have survived in a lot of ways. But at the same time, I love them to death. But the stress that they also brought, right? It's like, because you have partners and like you have expectations for each other, and you like. So, there's pros and cons, right? But I know you've also shared, and like we've talked in the past, and I think for you were kind of solo for so long, running it. So how did it feel to bring in, and I'm sure, clearly they weren't running it, helping you run the company, but when you brought in Courage and Valk, right? Like, I'm sure it was nice to have somebody there with
Jack, I mean, Ray and Jack were phenomenal. I mean, we lived in a house together, and even when I was going through all this with 100 Thieves and trying to figure out how I can get back to content full time, Jack always picked up the phone. I mean, bro, even this was after Gracie was delivered.
Yeah,
we were in the hospital for 4 days. I had to go charge the car because driving a Tesla at the time. While Gracie was napping and my wife was asleep, I went to charge the car down the street and was talking to Jack about And that was not the only time that I talked to him. We had a lot of back and forth on it. So Jack is one of my closest friends, always had my back and would listen to me and give me raw, honest opinions. Ray, dude, she's turned into a superstar in her own right and was instrumental in the growth of 100 Thieves. And she's now just like sort of in another atmosphere. Like she's a superstar.
Yeah.
So it felt like great to have creators to lighten the load off of me trying to help the business succeed, but also like help carry the weight of content and just our presence on social media. So that was unbelievable. And some of the best decisions we ever made were bringing both of them on. So,
I think you're very hard on yourself. I'm sure you did a way better job than you're making it sound. But two things I know of that you definitely had the lead in that I'm interested in hearing about are Highground. One is Highground. So
yeah.
Highground and Juvee, right? The two kind of verticals that you've got into. I know 100 Thieves is no longer in Juvee, I don't think, right? But I remember when I went to your guys' office, we went to the 100 Thieves office because, we maybe were thinking about a FaZe and 100 Thieves merger. We're just throw it out there real quick. But it was pretty crazy, right? We almost merged. We had a few meetings and hilarious, though, actually. I remember from that meeting, because you were talking about tweaking. I remember you were so worried about like employees looking in at because there was like a presentation on the screen.
Well, we had things leak in the past.
Okay.
That had to come from employees.
Okay.
So it's not that I don't trust all of you there, but there was definitely some things that got through. We went. There were certain meetings that we would have, all company meetings, where we went with transparency, like keeping everybody informed.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, some tweets started popping out from some of these journalists. We're like, okay,
yeah, that sucks.
maybe we got to reel it in because either somebody that working here doesn't like us or they just don't care.
I mean, we had like 100 employees at some time. Did you have a same amount?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I also think too, like if there was going to be an announcement that big, you got to kind of protect the privacy of it.
For sure.
Until it's ready to be shared with everybody.
I just think it's funny because I remember you were like, I just remember that in the meeting. We had a few meetings and it seemed like a pretty possible and a cool idea at the time. It obviously didn't come to fruition, but would have been in a different world, would have been really cool, would have been crazy to see. We still got the logos here, right, on the same shirt. But when we went to the office, I saw the Highground keyboard, which was one of the nicest quality I've ever seen. The keyboard's crazy. Can you give the story about Highground?
Yeah, so the entire idea behind Highground and Juvee and Project X,
Project X
was the video game we were working on developing. In hindsight, all of those things together sound like an enormous amount of responsibility and way too complicated if I were going to grade that vacuum of businesses. And it sounds far-fetched, but in those moments, it's not like we were driving the wheel under the influence, bro.
Yeah.
It all actually made a lot of sense, and we felt like we had the manpower to achieve like a lot of these goals. But the entire idea behind Juvee and Highground is, well, one, just Highground to begin with. I just loved Russ and NK, the founders, because they found a niche in gaming. They had been trying to make it in the gaming industry for a while with a bunch of different projects. And then they had this idea of making keyboards feel as special as I felt when I would unbox a pair of sneakers. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And as long as they matched the feeling that I would get with unboxing sneakers, as long as they matched that with the performance and quality of that keyboard, which they weren't able to do right away. They needed time to scale because they were just two guys slinging keyboards out of a van. But I thought the creative behind it was actually really special. It was like giving design to keyboards that hadn't existed yet. If you go into a Best Buy and pick up like a Corsair, Razer, oh my God, Logitech. Yeah, no disrespect intended because, I use some of that gear, obviously not the keyboards. But, if you go into a store and try to buy one, it's either a black or a white keyboard.
Yeah.
And so to try to, bring graphic prints and different art inspiration and different collaboration with brands you would never see a hardware company make, I actually thought it was just taking like the gaming fandom to another level.
Yeah.
And that was an experience that I just, like I just described, I didn't think existed yet. And the way that these guys talked about the creative behind the vision they had for the company, I just thought it was unbelievably special. Like it made me want to be a part of it. And so when we started having those initial conversations with Highground we also saw the success of like Pink Whitney with Barstool Sports, like Dave Portnoy, their entire team, Erica, who was their former CEO. They just did an incredible job with bringing together the groups of folks they had and the pockets they had in different sports and different niche communities, and then bringing a product to life through their podcasts and all the videos that they made. And Juvee was supposed to be like a passion project for me after 100 Thieves. Like, what I know now is that I'll probably never start another business again, just because I don't want to worry about this many people and just have the weight of that many decisions on my shoulders. But at the time, it seemed like I've been sponsored by a million energy drinks. Why not just make my own?
Yeah.
And it was kind of just like this fun thing in my mind after I came up with the name for it, just standing in line at the Rancho Park driving range in LA during COVID, just sitting there with headphones in, just doing wordplay, kind of like I did to come up with 100 Thieves. It just rolled off the tongue to me. Juvee, rejuvenation. You go to the gas station on the way to Vegas, your boy hops out the front seat like, yo, you need anything inside? Grab me a blue Juvee, yellow Juvee, green Juvee.
Yeah.
Like, it was one of those things that I really just was like drawn to. And as, the Highground conversation became more serious and we started looking at opportunities, because we actually had a lot of brands come to us with the idea of starting like a beverage together, primarily alcohol brands. Like there was like a tequila company. And so it started to like kind of plant a seed in my head, and John has really good business instincts as well. It seemed like a great idea to have 100 Thieves be like the hub of a strong portfolio that is endemic to gaming, that had a lot of different products and a lot of different services that would make the business really attractive to a company that wanted to be involved in gaming but didn't know how. Well, look at all these different through points that you can reach this audience. And that's strictly from a business perspective. Like Highground and Juvee truly were passion projects, and the founders, like I said, Ka and Rustin, were phenomenal and still are instrumental in the business. And then me getting an opportunity to work with Sam Keen with Juvee, it just seemed like the perfect storm of opportunities, and then also would make the business and all the capital that we raised and all of the investment that we made, like make 100 Thieves and those businesses a lot more attractive for an exit one day.
Yeah.
So it was like we got to have our cake and eat it too.
Yeah.
And that was really the motivation behind those two businesses. Juvee, unfortunately, and this is kind of like goes hand in hand with a lot of the tough that was happening, because I went to the board, was like, I don't want to be the CEO anymore. I love this business. I truly believe in it. I still want to be involved. I just don't think I should be the CEO anymore. Literally the next day, I think we're getting on the phone to talk about like how we would handle this. And then it turned into a conversation about, okay, we have to do another round of layoffs, and we think we're burning too much cash with Juvee. The business was actually doing pretty well for its first year and a half, and I just spent all this time where
I remember you were very excited about it.
Yeah, I was.
Yeah.
And it's like the weight of small decisions, they add up and become this bigger thing.
Yep.
And that's kind of what the departure away from Juvee felt like, because if I'm trusting the people around me like I have primarily been this entire time, I understand that if we don't change something now, this business could cease to exist in a couple years.
Yeah.
But if we rip the Band-Aid off now and cut a little deeper with the employees that we have on payroll and find Juvee a better home to give it time to grow, the time it needs, and it's not as capital intensive, I think it could reach scale. I know it doesn't sound like inventing the wheel when I say we started an energy drink.
Yeah.
Because there's been so many that have been created with like the success of Prime and every single, sub brand that exists from all these other, Fortune 500 beverage companies. But at that time, it was really exciting, and it made a lot of sense. Like, if we have a new energy drink trying to sponsor us every single year, why don't we just do it ourselves?
Yeah.
Yeah, it just turned into this thing where, I kind of poured my heart and soul out, which took a lot of courage, which, whether that means a lot to you or not, or you care at all, to say, hey, I need help. I told them like how bad of a place I was mentally. And, at the end of the day, it's business, and they care about me. I know that the board members, like, I have a great relationship with. I know that they care, but at the same time, they have a lot of things to juggle as well.
Yeah.
And so it all of a sudden it turned into this, like, my breaking point, and then it reached the next stage where it's like, hey, we're going to get you your help, but we got to do these things first. So then Juvee, we sold to like a Midwest like brewery company. They make artisan like root beer. And Sam, who was like honestly one of my biggest fears and worries because I didn't want to leave him because he busted his ass and the entire team behind Juvee with Damon and Adrian and a bunch of other folks. They ended up in a good home. Cool. And they got to, we basically gave Sam like the entire business. Here you go. And then Highground is still, pumping away and doing well to this day.
So you also are like completely disconnected with Juvee? You have no...
I have no affiliation with Juvee. I mean, I still drink it on stream because I like it.
You just walked in with one.
Yeah, I mean, I buy it, bro. They don't even send it to me. I buy it. I mean, if I texted Sam and asked him,
of course,
because we still have a great relationship, he would send it to me. But I'm like, hey, I might as well support the business.
It was your idea from the beginning. But
the energy drink, yes.
But it was through 100 Thieves. It wasn't like not Nadeshot, but Matt as a person didn't necessarily own.
Well, we had a sales guy named Matty Lee, who I love. He actually came over from Barstool, and when he was going out on these runs trying to pitch the business for big partners to sign on as like a traditional sponsor for like a NBA team. Mm-hmm. If you go to an NBA arena, you see all the sponsors they have on like the turntable. All the logos. I mean, that's a big part of a traditional sports franchise. I mean, that's what partnerships is for esports. Like you sell brands, you do the collaboration, you do the content. And when these companies would start reaching out about this, and he brought up the alcohol idea, I had the bright idea to say, well, I have this thing in my head. Maybe you guys like the sound of it. So then all of a sudden it turned into everybody running with this idea. Right. And I didn't have the heart, nor did I have the desire to say, well, I was going to do this on my own, but let's just do it. Because I'm like, at the end of the day, am I going to ever make this on my own? Probably not. Yeah. I'm too lazy. Here's the name. Let's go build it.
But also it's like when you're building 100 Thieves, when 100 Thieves wins, you win. That's how you're looking at it, too. Yeah. That's the thing. That's kind of like the...
Absolutely. Tides raise all ships.
Exactly. So, like, for me, too, everything I did was, all right, I might as well do it through FaZe. Might as well. So, FaZe eats off it. But, like, what I learned is, when things get rough, it's not a good place to be to have everything in that one basket. And, like, you kind of got to... Now, we spoke about it. I was speaking to Hecz about it. I learned so much. And, like, I have to be like you. I'm like you. I'm not very confrontational. I'd rather just like you, okay, whatever, let's just do it with everyone. I don't fight for even salary and stuff. You speak about salary, like the salary that I got was probably nowhere near what I should have been getting paid for the work I was doing. But like I feel awkward even talking about salaries. That's how I felt. But it's just like a lot of lessons learned for me. I don't think I will allow myself to navigate like that again. But again, it's all learning experiences, I guess. And I see that Sam guy. I always see him on my Twitter. I always see Juvee pop up.
You ever have the chance to work with Sam Keen? He's like truly one of the best people I know. Man. That guy works harder than any. I know when people get on shows, they talk about people in their lives, but this guy Sam Keen is like he's just nicer than he ever should be to people, and he'll give you the shirt off your back. So, love that guy to death.
Well, hopefully Juvee finds more and more success.
Yeah, they got it. A funny story. I actually told this to Haley because she said, "Oh, Juvee's coming out with a new flavor." And it's like sugar cookie, like Christmas cookie. And I had an off comment, which, listen, I have a weird thing with food. If you watch my show, I'm like, they're selling that? I tried it. Oh, my God, it tasted terrible. But it actually ended up being, he came in one day to pitch because the first initial 3 flavors, we went to a lab together in New Jersey, and he took a couple extra trips to test out everything. But when we were trying to settle on the 3 flavors, we had to all agree that we loved it. Yeah. And then all of a sudden, Sam tried to build a business. He would go and try to create these concoctions. And he heard me talking about mint chocolate chip ice cream one day on stream. Bro, I swear to God, a couple months later, he comes into the office and he's wearing a mint chocolate chip colored jacket. And he hands me this bottle that's, the same exact color, not the bright, the all white that they have. It was like that mint green, and he had me taste it. I'm like, Sam, you need to burn this, dude. This is the most disgusting thing I've ever tasted. But every flavor they've come out with since,
he came with a shirt and everything, and you shot him down.
I don't know what a sugar cookie would taste like, but everything they've released since I've seen it or tasted has been a hit. So I'm sure it's gonna be great.
All right, it's hilarious. Well, it's cool. It's interesting. It's interesting insight. I think that too, like. You know, because when you put when your Nadeshot's name is behind it publicly, again, there's so many probably assumptions people have about how much you probably it's your whole company, or you own it, or this is that. But it's interesting. It's just interesting to hear about how things really are. People don't usually get that insight. So now, obviously, you're not day to day really too deep into 100 Thieves, and you're streaming every day. What's your day to day like today?
I wake up, pop is in, sit down on my chair. Refresh Twitch. Maybe I'll watch the Bird Symphony because he's normally live before me. Scroll Twitter for like 20 minutes. Wait for my body to say, hey, brother, it's time to take. I do that. I sneak into the bedroom because my wife's sleeping. Since she takes care of the baby all day, she needs a rest. She's like, women need more sleep than men. I tiptoe into the room because I got a bidet in there and it's heated. And if I go to the bathroom in my office, all of a sudden I need a courtesy wipe like an hour later. I'm just uncomfortable. So I make sure on my way out, I don't slam the door. I walk into my bedroom or my office, wait for the caffeine to kick in, wait for my Vyvanse to kick in, and then I'm going live.
Okay.
For
Every day.
10 hours.
Every day.
Yeah.
It's amazing. And you're enjoying it, I'm sure, more than ever.
I love it. I love it. I really do because I get to be myself, completely unfiltered. For a long time, I thought I hated video games.
Yeah.
Turns out that's not the case. I just didn't like video games at the time and was sort of, like everything burnt out. I have ADHD. I think I'm on the spectrum in some way or another. And I just go through hyper fixations, whether it's cameras for 2 months, I'll buy like 2 new lenses, buy a new body, pick up like 3 different ND filters, all different, have like the cool mist, all the, and then the next 3 months of the year, it's golf. And then the next 3 months, it's video games. And it's just this vicious cycle. But I've been able to train my brain just to love video games every day. Cool. And streaming has just been a breath of fresh air. There's some days it's harder just because I feel bad for my wife. She moved all the way from LA. I mean, we both wanted to move even before we had Gracie. Yeah. But right as we got married and had Gracie and started this streaming thing, like 6 of her 8 bridesmaids all had babies in LA. Oh, but she loves being at home. She loves taking care of Gracie. She's been on like a side quest, making TikToks and stuff, like family stuff.
I've seen the Christmas series she was doing, huh?
Yeah.
Or I don't know if it was Christmas. It was Christmas. What? It was like 25 gifts.
25 days of Call of Duty.
Yeah.
Yes, okay. And she's like,
I said,
she my wife is so independent. She makes herself busy, but some days are harder knowing that. The only gripe that I have with streaming is that, unlike YouTube, you have to be sitting there present
8 to 10
hours a day. Yeah. So I'm trying to do my best to like balance that because I definitely don't want to miss like the transformative young baby moments and years of Gracie's life. Mm-hmm. But I think we always communicate. We don't argue much. We have like an incredible dynamic, and we're truly like a family household unit. And it's just been phenomenal, dude. It's been
amazing, man.
As Tommy Zuma would say, phenomenal.
That's awesome. I'm glad, man. I'm really happy to see. I'm sure a lot of your early supporters that have all grown up, everyone's happy to see when people that they've respected growing up are happy. Especially because, 100 Thieves, the ups and downs of that, leaving OpTic, all the things we've spoke about. It's like I was telling Hecz the same thing, too, about just like him kind of having this back again, right? And like it's just nice to see. And I know a lot of people feel that way for FaZe as well, like Banks right now. Like everyone, I'm happy for Banks for where he's at too, with how he's like busy again with FaZe. And
let's reciprocate this. I can't believe you asked me to do a podcast. You're making videos again. I mean, this is awesome.
It is very interesting. To your point,
the world is healing.
You said you thought you hated gaming. I thought I hated YouTube too, but it wasn't really the case. Like I maybe was burnt out, and I think all the stress of FaZe too made me feel like I just wanted nothing to do with anything. But when I started this, I've really enjoyed it again. So appreciate you for being one of the features. I mean, people are gonna be super excited to see you and Hecz and a couple of other people like Scump have been commented a lot. So
I was sitting in the bathroom and I was like, man, we've been talking for a while. Did I overshare? Am I gonna have like texts and tweets about this? And then I realized I'm like, dude, I say the most heinous shit on my stream. What am I worried about?
Don't worry. I ask some questions, but I don't try to bait anything that is.
I don't think you don't even need to say that. I'm just like,
no.
I don't care. I don't mind sharing anything.
No, I know because I did it with Ninja. I had a convo with Ninja too, and it's like, I just made it clear to him I'm not gonna try to ask him some drama to try to get a clip or anything like that. I'm just
Damn, you
didn't,
lost
though.
your YouTube ways, bro.
Nah, I think.
Nah, you weren't
I
ever a
think-
drama YouTuber anyways.
No, I wasn't. I was just.
You were clean.
I was a brain rot clickbaiter. That's all I did, buddy. Gaming and just whatever can get the views on.
Honestly,
that
bro, you started. Yeah, I love it. You guys were
Yeah.
like the start of how to really gamify YouTube. You guys figured
It was
it out.
fun, man. So this is a different chapter. This is actually trying to make high quality stuff and kind of evergreen stuff. So this convo is one of them. So thank you. I think the last thing I want to ask about, we spoke a lot about business, the money, and all that, but the part of your life being so public, right? Like everything about you has been public since 2010, 2011. What do you think about? How do you feel about that today? Like everywhere you go, you probably still getting recognized. I'm sure, of course, right? And like even your wife is, known online. Your daughter, you've posted, all about her. Everyone knows about her. I don't know what your plans are as she gets bigger, if you're gonna really feature her in your stuff. But how do you like that aspect of what comes with everything that you've built?
Yeah, I mean, the good thing about being like a niche creator on the internet is that you're not famous enough to get recognized and be suffocated everywhere you go, but you're not small enough to where you can't make a living from it. So you gotta take the good with the bad.
Yeah.
And my wife and I debated for a long time whether we would share Gracie with the world, and we definitely don't intend to do anything more than we're doing right now. Like even my wife, she loves watching like family TikToks, and from the day we met, her Instagram was on private, and I love that about her. I was also like, what you hiding? But no. She just doesn't. It's crazy. It's like I met a girl in this world that just doesn't really care so much about social media.
Yeah.
But she's kind of enjoying it just as like a little side quest, just to
Yeah.
have something to do, to share her mommy thoughts and ideas and projects with TikTok and the rest of the world. And so I haven't faced a lot of problems with myself being in the public. And obviously I worry more than anything for Gracie, but I think there's tasteful ways where, like back to my original point, my wife had brought up a bunch of video ideas that involve making content about babies, but Gracie won't be in them.
Yeah.
It's like she's going to show me everything she bought Gracie for Christmas.
Yeah.
And videos like that in a tasteful way. Because, listen, there is certainly a big opportunity, as we've all seen on YouTube, to be like a family channel.
Yeah.
And it's like I look at people like Roman Atwood, and he'll occasionally like tweet a photo of his son. I didn't really watch a lot of YouTube as I was making videos. I obviously I was on patrol, seeing what worked for other people, and would click into a video. But my attention span is worse than these TikTok brain rot kids nowadays.
Yeah.
So it's like watching Twitch stream. I'll be in there for like 3 minutes, and I'm bouncing out to another one.
Yeah.
And I see photos of his son, and I'm like, holy bro, he's a full-blown adult. He's bigger than Roman.
Crazy,
and
yeah.
I think that's actually pretty cool.
Yeah.
But at the same time, there's a balance. And my wife and I both know that when I turn off my stream, and what I love so much about the home that we had in LA is no matter how much stress I had from the workday, or no matter how of a mood I was in, when we would close the front door, that was our space.
Yeah.
That was our time together. And my wife does a great job of respecting like when my brain is just like on E, and she's a planner. She's the opposite of me in every way. I actually think she'd be a better CEO of a business than I would, because she's just get done when she needs to get it done. She's really good at planning ahead. She'll avoid asking me any questions if I tell her like, honey, I'm just, you got to stop yapping. We're not talking about plans right now.
Yeah.
But we just have such a good dynamic, and I feel comfortable enough with our life as it is siloed off today as I need it to be. So I don't really honestly deal with that much stress of being like a public figure. I mean, there was one time when she had brought up when the subathon was supposed to start on stream, and she had me move it a couple times because of things that had popped up. And then this other thing popped up, and I had to move it again.
Yeah.
And then she came on stream. We do this thing called Wife Mic, where she'll just sit there and hang out for like 30 minutes while Gracie's napping, have her up on the phone, the baby monitor, and they love her. She's like just easy to talk to. But then she brought up the subathon, and I had my chat like berating me for like weeks about this subathon because I had been promising. And then she kind of got too serious about it. And all of a sudden, which I don't have to deal with that with Haley, because our life is like offline. We are offline.
Yeah.
We don't talk about.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, my blood pressure rose. I'm like, honey, then I talked to her off stream. I'm like, you got to be on my side on stream because now these guys are beating me up. These guys are beating me the up.
Yeah.
And so it just, man, we just don't have a lot of problems.
That's good.
God willing, like that continues. But yeah.
That's good. I think you mentioned Roman. I went to Ohio to interview Roman, right? So I saw where he lives. And what's cool about where he lives, it's so, like, in the middle of nowhere that, like, he just lives a normal life over there.
Yeah.
Like, the thing of getting out of L.A., too, is I feel like in Texas, you're probably not going to be as, I don't want to say bothered because it's not always necessarily a bother. But, like, I feel like going out here in public, someone like yourself who's pretty recognizable, you'll get a lot less interaction here than you will in LA.
Funny enough, it's the opposite.
Really?
In LA, I walk around, I don't get recognized at all. Texas, every place I go, somebody will know me.
Really?
But I don't leave the house.
Yeah.
Ever since my wife was pregnant, she used to be like super outgoing, likes to go out and do things.
Yeah.
I got her locked up, bro, and she loves it.
I love sitting at home more than anything.
She's like me now. She gets anxiety when we're away from home for too long. I'm like, yeah, duo.
I love this. I love this Nadeshot. This is hilarious.
Converted her.
Just one quick thing on your daughter. I am very pro, don't put her online.
Agreed.
And I say that because I had some, experience, right? I had FaZe Baby, if you remember, my nephew, if you remember ever seeing his name. Very popular. I used to make videos with him. I calculated it. 50 million plus views of the videos I made with him. Most viewed video on my channel, like 14 million views of him playing Black Ops 2 with me. Like, he was like 2 years old. Everyone loved this kid. And one day, he went on like a Disney cruise with my brother and his wife. And people were recognizing him as a 2-year-old walking around and like asking for pictures and stuff. So after that, I like kind of ripped him off the internet because I like didn't want.
That's smart.
I didn't want him to get recognized. I also like never, I could have made him a YouTube channel at my prime, bro. I made some kid. I don't. It's insane to think about, but there was like a kid that I featured in my video got 300K subs overnight, which is I can't believe I had that juice at some point. I could barely get 30K views on a video now, but he could have for sure had a million subscribers on YouTube. My nephew, if I made a channel for him, but like I was so against it, and like his parents didn't understand it because they were just like, why not? And I'm just like, I don't want to throw him as a 2-year-old in this open, the internet, and he will never have the decision of whether or not he wants to live this life or not. Again,
She could cry in the jet.
Yeah.
no, I'm just kidding.
No, but
any weird shit pops up, bro. I got a 12 gauge and a 38 caliber at home. Good luck.
Good, yeah. But
You want a photo, brother? Stay home. Don't come near me.
Yeah,
no,
good.
but I all jokes aside, I totally hear you, and we wrestled with that.
Yeah, I can't. But I'm sure it's like 50-50 for so.
I think the good thing is now, which I'm not trying to justify. First of all, just remember all the comments. I'm not going to carry the weight, but I'm a parent.
Yeah.
And if I want a Macaulay Culkin, take her money as she earns it, there's a couple of laws and rules now that say I can't, but we'll find a way. No, I think the internet is sprawled out in so many different directions.
Yeah.
The blessing that I feel like I have, which I don't talk about enough, is that a lot of the guys that grew up with me that watch my videos are now in the same place in their life.
Yeah.
They're in their late 20s, early 30s. They're having children. And so I feel lucky that I haven't had to deal with any of like the lunacy or the craziness of the internet that comes with it. And now that everybody has a phone in their hand and they're creating some sort of content, I feel like I'm sort of insulated by this small community that I have where we don't really get a lot of the riffraff from like the exterior corners of the internet.
Yeah.
But maybe I'm misjudging it and Gracie will resent me 18 years from now or something.
That's not really. I hope that didn't come off like that's what I was saying.
No, not at all.
But no, it's
I think
definitely.
I'm just justifying it for myself.
No, there's not. I'm not saying that. There's nothing. There's like you said, Roman. Like again, they have their whole. Like you said, is really cool. Noah now, his son has his own YouTube channel. He's like a college student. He just went with Vitaly pred hunting, which I thought was.
He went on that.
Yeah, I swear to God, I was like, that's interesting. But he's like a college kid making content now, and he loves it, and he has an audience. So. It's different for everybody. It's definitely a big decision to make, I think. And a lot of people get in. I think, at the end of the day, whatever decision you make, you know what you're doing. A lot of people get into it, and I think like their family channel explodes, and they have no idea what they're getting into, which is where I think it can get dangerous for people.
Trying to get this thing to end in a fiery divorce or something.
No, stop.
Nah, I can't. No, my wife doesn't like when I use the D word, but it's too easy of like a topic that's like jarring enough to where everybody you either laugh at it or you're like, what the.
I think
No D word, honey. I didn't mean it.
Anybody that's been watching you recently knows you're trolling. Other people that maybe haven't seen Nate in a few years are probably like, what's cut off by some of these.
Like, he's on the verge of a mental breakdown. Are you sure it's not happening as we speak?
Nah, I think this is actually, it leads to the question I'm gonna ask, which is I like to ask everyone. But are you happy right now? And I think the answer is a resounding yes.
Absolutely, bro. I mean, listen, man. I think happiness as you become an adult. I don't know if it's men only. I doubt it is. The one thing that I've learned is that some days are just going to be harder than others. You could have everything going right in your life, and from all things and all perspectives, all things considered, you could be like, how could a guy like that be sad? There are just days where my brain chemistry is off and I'm not happy.
Yeah.
And I communicate that to my wife, like, honey, I don't know what it is. I can't find a shred of dopamine today, not an ounce of it. She's like, all right, honey, well, tomorrow's going to be better. And I completely agree with her. I know that about myself now. I'm pretty, like, high emotion. I got high highs, and I have a couple low lows. But, not every day is going to be perfect. Not every day your brain is going to be on your side. And sometimes you kind of just got to bite your teeth down and grit through it. And now that I have a daughter, it's like, even if I am having a bad day, just seeing her smile is enough to get me off my set. And then I wake up the next day and try to do it again. It's just like, you see, it's like when you see celebrities and they are on pills or going through depression, and they get on a talk show and they talk about it. Maybe those are too aggressive of examples. I'm just saying, it's like, success aside, you're just not going to be happy every day.
Yeah.
No matter what you have in this world, material items, yada, yada, yada. We're just we're not supposed to be running on a high every single day. Because if we were, well, life would be easy. Yeah. So I am happy overall. I've got a lot of incredible things in my life, and I do my best to be happy, and I do my best to make my family happy every day.
I'm glad. It's amazing to hear.
And I hope the same is for you, brother.
Yeah, I am, thankfully. I
know a lot of the that we've talked about could sound like to some people, and there could be comments about it, but I'm telling you, it's so odd how much we have in common and how similar the situations we've been in. Nobody knows what that feels like. Everybody's got problems, and not a lot of people have a mic in front of them to talk. Actually, everybody's got a podcast now. But I don't think you should ever, or I should ever, feel invalidated by the way we feel just because people think, like, those are the problems you have.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
I do the same thing. Kind of just keep it to yourself, and you just know. I know what it's been like. I know what it felt like, and I understand that nobody's really gonna understand except you. So I'm glad we got to have this conversation.
We gotta do this
a little bit of a venting session.
Yeah, we gotta do this like once a quarter.
I know we do. Well, to your point,
before I have that real breakdown.
To your point of Gracie and wanting to spend time with her, and I know you took a day off of streaming, so I apologize for all the time we took of you today.
Don't apologize,
but I really
man.
appreciate you taking the time. It was great to sit with you. I got some therapy in.
Post subathon, these guys have been a little slow on the gifted subs. So
come on, guys, we need
no.
We need some gifted.
Hey, shout out my boy Rambo Jambo, dude. I hope that shift at Wendy's is going well.
I think I have seen him in gifts when I've been in your
Rambo
studio.
Jambo's my boy.
I've
and the
seen
running
him
joke,
good.
everybody asks him, like, what do you do? He's like, I work at Wendy's.
You gotta fly him out one day.
Oh my God, no. You know what? I'm going home. I'm going to go yell at my wife for not sending him in this 100 Thieves Gucci backpack, dude. This guy probably thinks I am a piece of My wife sent care packages to like our 10 biggest gifters.
Yeah.
And we sent those out. But then one day, Rambo, after gifting all these subs for like the last year, a Gucci backpack got brought up in conversation. And it's like, dude, this guy this generous, like, I'll give him the shirt off my back. You want the Gucci backpack? Let's get it done.
Yeah.
And I'm like 95% sure my wife hasn't sent that yet.
All right, Rambo, we got you the Gucci backpack.
Yo, Rambo, I know I said the last time that if you didn't have it by now, we could chop my meat off, but dude, it's coming.
It's coming, Rambo. All right, well, thank you. Thank you for taking the time today.
It was a productive day, all because of that.
Okay, good. I'm glad. You'll get a couple subs for that, too, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Huh?
Nah.
It's like a win-win.
Yeah,
no, I'm
hey,
joking.
drop a prime.
Thank you. Shout out Nadeshot. Obviously, you're streaming every day, so check him
pleasure.
out. The legend. Appreciate it, man. Thank you.
Thank you.